Okay, let's talk Godzilla, King of the Monsters. So what's going on, guys? Thank you for joining me for another movie review. I haven't done one in a while, just simply out of the fact that some of the movies that I've seen I felt were not worth the time to do a review, or I felt like I wasn't qualified to talk about it for the most part, in the instance of like Detective Pikachu. I don't really know what I saw when it came to Detective Pikachu, so I didn't feel qualified to talk on it other than, like, I don't like Pokemon, and I thought it was a good movie. So for something like that, it felt like just better to leave it as a social media post than actually do a fleshed out video. But with Godzilla King of the Monsters being a direct sequel to the 2014 film, and now clearly being tied to Kong of Skull Island, both of which I've seen, I felt a little more qualified to talk about this, and I wanted to get more movie reviews out on the channel anyway, since I do have a couple more that are going to be coming, one more than likely for Aladdin, and one definitely for Dark Phoenix, because there's no way in hell you guys are not going to let me talk about that train wreck. Alright, so in true review form that I try to maintain here on the channel, I will try to keep this as spoiler free as possible. I may talk about like one or two scenes that I particularly thought was highly entertaining, but for the most part the review is going to be kind of a broad stroke of the movie without trying to reveal too much. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So the movie pretty much picks up right where the first one left off, Godzilla 2014. Obviously, time jumping it a little bit, people are a little more knowledgeable about these creatures. They're a little more knowledgeable about Godzilla, and they have made a organization that is built to help study and further understand these creatures, that later on you come to know them as Titans, and that they are the oldest living beings on the planet. They predate pretty much everything, and Godzilla, for the most part, is the oldest one out of the bunch. Now, the biggest gripe that I had with the 2014 Godzilla was kind of the same gripe that I've had with every version of Godzilla that has come over to the States, and it's that so many people take a gigantic monster movie and try to turn it into a human drama. Now, while they didn't entirely hit the mark with King of the Monsters with that, it is definitely an improvement over from the 2014 movie. There is definitely a lot more emphasis on the monsters this time around, and they definitely wanted to make sure that they went out of their way to make sure that you knew that Kong of Skull Island is tied to these movies, because several times throughout the movies you will hear them refer to Kong. You will hear them refer to Kong as the monster on Skull Island, the thing on Skull Island. The thing on Skull Island has gotten loose. Kong seems to be content just hanging out on Skull Island. Like, they mention him like 6 or 7 times. And then, not to mention that they show a bunch of different, like, pictures, cave drawings, and, I don't know, stories of old type of deal. They reference this Godzilla vs. Kong movie that is supposed to be coming next year. They reference it maliciously. Like, just non-stop. Hey, this is going to happen. Hey, this is going to happen. They mention it a ton to the point that it almost gets annoying. But, to summarize the basis of the movie, you have the humanitarian group that feels like the Titans are kind of like a blight on humanity, and that if we wake them all up and they fight and so on and so forth, they'll kind of save the planet, and they'll thin the herd of the Titans, and humanity will be able to rebuild. And then you have the other side that is trying to study, further understand the Titans in order to, for lack of a better term, coexist with them. Which, logically, in my opinion, seems like the better option. Because this is a Hollywood blockbuster movie. When does the it's gonna work out for everyone option ever go quite according to plan. So, but getting back to the focus at hand, which was more emphasis on the Titans and less emphasis on humanity, while they did a better job of it, there is still a ton of screen time on the humans, which is understandable to a point because they're the ones that are kind of driving the plot. They're the ones there that are there to explain everything, because Godzilla ain't going to tell you what the hell's going on. That's for damn sure. But I felt like there was way too much, and one of my friends coined this phrase, and I'm actually going to steal it from him. Because the three main characters is a husband and wife combo who wind up on opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to the plot of the movie, and then you have the daughter who's kind of stuck in the middle for the most part. The father doesn't really want anything to do with the Titans. Originally, he wants to kill them all because during the 2014 attack between Godzilla and the Mutos, they lost their son. And then you have the wife who thinks waking all the Titans up and having them slug it out is actually going to help rebuild the population. And then you have the daughter who kind of just wants everybody to get along type of deal. So I won't tell you who's on the right or wrong side of that, but there you go. You kind of got your premise. And I felt like there was way too much baby mama drama for a monster movie, if that makes any sense at all. While the fights were definitely a lot more entertaining, there were definitely a lot more emphasis on the fights itself. One of the biggest things that has always annoyed me is when you get down to the fight that you've wanted to see, and then they cut away to something else. And they did that a ton in this movie. So, like, you have Godzilla and whoever, and they're finally clashing and slugging it out and shit like that. And you get to see about 5 seconds of it, and then it pans back over to the humans talking about something, and it's like, what the stay focused on the damn fight, why don't you? And that got very jarring after a while. Godzilla 2014, all the fights seemed to take place at night, so you could barely see anything. And the kind of the same thing happened here. Like, there was, I think, like, one day battle. And given the circumstances of what was going on, you still really couldn't see anything. And then the rest of the fights were at night during giant torrential downpour storms and hurricanes and tidal waves and thunderstorms. And again, you kind of get to this point that you couldn't really see a whole lot until a certain thing in the film happens with Godzilla. And then you can see more than you actually need to, type of deal. And that gets very, very jarring after a while. What you see is great, but for the next film, can we please just have some fights that take place during the daytime and, you know, some relatively sunny weather? No rain, no wind, no nothing. Like, just kind of keep it old school, where it's like, oh, hey, it's this heavily mountain area from like 1964, and you can clearly see what the hell the monsters are doing. That is my big wish for Godzilla vs. Kong, is just have the fights during the daytime so we can actually see what the hell's going on. But I will say this, for the most part, it is a much more enjoyable film than Godzilla 2014. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Godzilla film, not by a long shot. That title still pretty much belongs to Godzilla Final Wars, which I believe came out in like 2006, 2008, something like that. It's been out for a while, and it's one of the Japanese films with the guy in the suit and the whole 9 yards. So if you really want a good Godzilla film, nice, action-packed, you can see what the hell's going on, you can follow the story. The story's relatively entertaining, and there's actually quite a few funny moments in it. Go check out Godzilla Final Wars. This is definitely worth at least one look, but maybe wait till video for the most part. I'll give it a solid 7 out of 10, but the parts that are bad are bad enough to where it kind of ruins the experience for the rest of the film. And you need to not do that when it comes to, you know, going to the theater and having people spend money to watch your movie. You need to keep it consistent throughout the entire film. So that's my 2 cents on it. Let me know what you think about Godzilla King of the Monsters down in the comments below. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. So, thank you very much for watching. Please hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel and tap the bell. That way you always know when I have new content for you to watch. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.